Today we're going to cover how to install a smart lock. Now we've done a lot of smart lock installations and product reviews, but we're going to focus specifically on the mechanical installation. There's only 4 things you really need to know. You're watching Locksmith Recommended. First thing you're going to have to do is get your existing deadbolt out of the door. There's going to be 2 screws on the back side of this deadbolt. Some deadbolts, you can't see these screws. Now we did a whole video on how to find hidden screws. I'll put a link to that down below in the description. So if you don't see your screws, take a look at that video first. Once these screws are out, both sides of the deadbolt will just come out of the door. Then you need to remove the latch. You just take out both of those screws and the latch will slide out of the door. Removing the old deadbolt's the easy part. Let's install the smart lock. We need to get the latch into the door. First important tip is this latch will have a label on it that says top, and you want to make sure that that is actually pointed to the top. Sometimes it's just an arrow. Second thing you want to check is the back set of the door. Almost all latches on smart locks can be adjusted from 2 3/8 to 2 3/4. That's the measurement from the center hole of the lock to the edge of the door. Residential properties are almost always 2 3/8, so you won't need to do anything. If you put this into the door and you find out that it doesn't go all the way through and it's kind of hanging on one side here instead of in the middle, you want to adjust that. Most of them will either have a lever on top that you just throw back and forth. This one is the twist type. So you twist it and that makes the bolt longer. I need the 2 3/8. So let's put that into the door. Now, if you look at the screws that came with that, you've got these little tiny screws. Okay, that's fine for the latch side, but if you're going to use the strike on the frame side of your door, you want to make sure to replace these small screws with screws that are 3 to 3.5 inches long. That'll tag this latch to the 2x4s behind the framing of the door and give this smart lock a lot of extra strength. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the front of the smart lock on the door. Now, here's the cable. In all smart locks, you're going to run the cable underneath the latch in order to tag into the mounting plate. So when you put this in, it goes underneath that latch. You have a tailpiece here, and you want to make sure that tailpiece slides into that center hole. And now that is on the outside of the door and we're ready to put the mounting bracket on. Now, smart locks are a little different, so they have a mounting bracket that goes on the inside of the door. Some of them will be labeled out, and that's the side that faces out. This one has a little piece of rubber weather stripping, so that's what goes next to the door. You feed your wire through the hole that they give you for the wire. Hold the outside of the door lock on. There's going to be 2 holes here, and these 2 holes are for the screws that are going to tag in and hold your mounting bracket to the front of the lock. You want to make sure that that goes into the mounting holes of the lock. So I'll get that one started. There we go. And just do it finger tight. You'll know you're in, and then we can go ahead and tighten. Before I snug this all the way down, I just want to make sure that my lock is nice and square on my door, on both the inside and the outside, so that when I finally tighten it up, everything is nice and aligned. The second most important thing you need to remember is feed the wire underneath the latch. Before I continue, I should mention that this is the Eufy smart lock, which is less than $100. We're going to do a product review on this smart lock. If you want to see that review, I'll put a link to it somewhere or down below in the description. In order to get notified for that, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll get notified when we post new reviews. With the back plate on, I am ready to go and mount the inside of the lock. Now, most of the time, this alignment will be labeled so that when you put it it onto the lock, it is in the correct orientation. I do not see a particular label on this lock. Now, it does have a lot of times they'll have an arrow pointed up or something. This one has a little lock symbol. That would be clockwise in this case to pull that lock back and match that orientation. The electronics just snap on. When you're pushing this in, if you need extra space because of that wire, sometimes they give you space here, sometimes you want to push it back into the door. This one's going to be a little bit combination of both. We're ready to mount this to the door. I'm going to take off the battery compartment on the Eufy lock. I've got 2 screw holes in the top, 1 on the bottom. They take these little screws. That is how the back of the lock mounts to the mounting plate. The third thing to remember when you're installing a smart lock is not to put the batteries in until after you've completed the installation. A lot of smart locks will automatically adjust themselves to figure out which way this bolt throws. So the batteries go in last. Did not do any adjustment for the orientation of the lock. So it's going to do that in the app. Now that completes the installation of the lock. You don't even want to put the battery compartment on until you've gone entirely through the application setup process, because you might have to touch some buttons that are on the inside of this lock. What's the fourth thing you need to know when installing a smart lock? That's this latch. In order for a smart lock to work correctly, this latch must go all the way out and into the strike that's on the door. So in order to do that, your bore on the door needs to be at least this deep. After you go into the app and you start playing with this lock, if it starts to make a lot of noise and grinding, that means that this latch is not able to go fully extended, and you're going to want to drill out a little bit deeper through your strike so that this latch goes all the way out. You can test if that's your problem. Open your door, see if the lock works correctly, and then when you close your door, if it does not and starts making funny noise, the latch isn't able to fully extend. That's how you install a smart lock. I'm Robert with Acme Locksmith. Be sure to smash that like button. Thanks for watching.